Okay, the manual process to do this is you need to highlight, for example, the first row, okay, all the columns for the first row, and then you can go to this data ribbon up there and you can choose this sort button. And from here, since this is just for our example, so I'm not going to expand the selection. I'm just going to use this current selection, and I click on this sort button. And from here, by default, as normal, Excel will try to sort by individual column. Okay, so that's why you see here column A until column G, but that is not what we want to do now. We want to sort our number by this row. So you can go to this options button, and from here we can change the default behavior. Instead of sorting from top to bottom, we want to sort it from left to right. And I click on OK button now, and now the setting changed from column to row, as you can see here. And when we click on this drop down button, it changed to row 1. Why we have this row 1? Because we are only selecting the first row. Okay, so that's what we want to do now. We want to sort the data inside this first row, smallest to largest. For example here, ascending order. So when I click on OK button, so the number in the first row has been sorted to the ascending order. Okay, that is the first example. We are selecting only the first row. So now, if I select everything, okay, and then I do the same process, click on the sort button up here, and then it is following the behavior that we set earlier, sort left to right. So now, if I click on this drop down button, what happens is we have multiple selection. Okay, so now we have sorted the first row, and if we want to sort the second row, we actually need to add another level, and now we can sort by the second row. And imagine that for this case, I have only 20 rows. So imagine that you have multiple rows, for example, hundreds of rows or thousands of rows. You need to do this one by one, and it's very, very tedious. Okay. So you can keep on going by manual process as per what we have shown here. And when we click on OK button, so as you can see, it is not performing as per what we want, and that's the problem here. Okay, so now how can we do this for all the rows available in our data? Okay, so that is coming in our next part of this video. And for now, it is sufficient for us to know that it is possible to do this manually in Excel by going to your data ribbon, click on the sort button, and change the default behavior. Instead of sorting from top to bottom, we can change it to sort left to right. Okay. So to try to do the same process for all the rows available in our data, we are going to record a macro. So to record a macro, you can click on this record macro button available in your status bar down there. Click on it, and here this is the setting that we can choose to record our macro. For example, you can give it a new name, but for my case, for this example, I'm not going to give it any new name, and I'm going to store this macro inside this current workbook. So now, when we click on OK button, we need to be careful with our keyboard and our mouse. Okay, so I'm going to click on OK button now, and after that, we are going to perform the operation that we have learned in our previous segment. So we need to be careful with our keyboard and mouse, as I said, and just perform the necessary actions according to our process. So the first step is to highlight our data. So starting from the first cell here, A1, I click on A1 and I drag until G1. So that is the first step. The second step is we are going to go into our data ribbon here, and inside this data ribbon, we are going to click on this sort button. Okay, and similar as before, this is our example. So I'm not going to expand the selection. I'm just going to use this current selection, the first row, and click on this sort button. Okay, so by far we have performed the necessary actions needed for our process. Okay, so the next step is to change our default behavior. So as we have done this before. As you can see here, it is still using the second option, sorting left to right, and that is what we want. And I'm going to click on OK button here. And for the first level, I'm going to sort the first row, selecting the first row there, and then depending on our usage, whether you want to sort it in ascending order or in descending order is up to you, but you need to make sure you choose the correct sorting order here. Okay, so for example, I'm sorting this data in ascending order, so then I'm clicking on this OK button, and that will be our result. Okay, so that is the process that we have done, that is the process that we have recorded. So now we have finished all the steps and we want to stop our macro recording. You can click on this stop button down there. Okay, that's it. That is our macro. It has been recorded, and let's see what Excel has recorded during the process. Okay, so to actually see the script that Excel has recorded for us, you can go to developer ribbon, and if you cannot see this developer ribbon, what you can do is you can right click on any ribbon available up here, right click on any ribbon available up there, and then you can choose this second option, customize the ribbon, and make sure that you have enabled this developer checkbox. Okay, then only you can see the developer ribbon appearing in your ribbon menu selection area. Okay, similar as per what I'm showing here. Okay, now in this developer ribbon, you can click on this first button on your left, Visual Basic button, and it will open up for you a new window. Okay, so this is the script that Excel has actually recorded for you during the macro recording process. Okay, so let me expand this a little bit to the left. Okay, so that we can see the larger part of this window. Okay, so these are the steps recorded, and as you can see here, since our first step just now is selecting cell A1 until G1, that is our line here. Okay, range A1, G1, select. Okay, for example, we want to do the same process for a different row. So what you can do is, we need to change this number. Instead of A1, G1, we want to change it to the row number that we want to perform. For example, row number 5. So I can change this to 5, A5 to G5, and anything related to A1, G1, I need to change it accordingly. Okay, A5 to G5. Okay, so let's check before we proceed. Okay, as you can see here, we have another one that we need to change into A5 to G5. Okay, so that is the process that we need to do. That is the things that we need to edit inside our code here, and we have edited our code, and let's see can we execute this code and get the expected result for our row 5. Okay, so to actually run this script, you need to click on this play button available up here. Okay, or you can also use the shortcut button F5 from your keyboard. Okay, now I'm going to click on this play button, and you can observe the result in this left hand side panel here. Okay, so as you can see, after I click on this play button, we have changed this row 5 sorting order to ascending order. Okay, so to make this easier, what we can do is we can actually declare a variable. Okay, that is what we call normally in a programming language or a scripting language similar to Excel VBA here. Declare a variable. So we start declaration of our variable by using the keyword dim, D-I-M. Okay, and then we can specify any name for our variable. For example, I'm using str1 as string. Okay, so this is my variable name, str1, and this is my variable type, string. Okay, now I'm going to assign a value to my variable string1. Okay, string1 equals to what? Okay, I'm going to assign string1 equals to, for example, A10. Okay, until G10. Okay, for example, string1 now has been assigned to this value, A10 to G10. Okay, so now in this particular codes that we have edited earlier, instead of using this double quote, the cell range, and close double quote, we can actually change this into our variable name, str1. Okay, so anything related to our cell range, we can change it to be str1. Okay, so that's how we can assign variable to a particular code lines. Okay, so now we have changed this to be A10 to G10, right? So now let's try to run this script again and see whether this editing works or not. Okay, now I'm going to click on display button, and similar as before, you can observe the changes on the left hand side panel. Okay, now we have changed the sorting order for row number 10. Okay, but this is not really automated because we need to change this code inside this window, Visual Basic Editor window, and it is not very dynamic. Okay, so in our next segment, we are going to improve this code further so that Excel will automatically detect how many rows that we have in our data, and it will go row by row and change the sorting order to ascending order as per what we have recorded in our macro earlier. Okay, stay tuned to the third segment of this video. And now, for the final part, we are going to customize our macro so that Excel will automatically detect the total number of rows available in our data, and it will go through one by one, row by row, and for each row it will perform the sorting order for us automatically without having to change the code manually each and every time. Okay, so to do that, we need to specify, or we need to declare two more variables, and I will explain to you why we need these two variables later. Okay, so the first additional variable that we are going to declare now is a variable that we are going to use to hold the total number of rows available in our data. Okay, so this is the variable that we are going to use. The variable name is called or known as rowCount in the script, and the data type for this variable is integer. Okay, and the third variable that we are going to include in the script is index, or it is a counter number that we are going to use to loop over the total number of rows available in our data later. Okay, that is the variable that we have here, rowIndex. That is a counter to loop through our records. Okay, so next we are going to create a script or a line that will enable Excel to select the entire data area available in our Excel. Okay, so the line that we are going to create now is called selection. Okay, what is selection? Selection is basically this active cursor available in this Excel file. Okay, for now, my active cursor is in this cell E10. That is my selection. Okay, so that is what this selection means. Okay, selection is referring to our selected area or selected cell in our active worksheet. Okay, so selection dot. Okay, now based from this single cell selection, I want to expand my selection to cover the entire data area. So to do that, inside our Visual Basic Editor here, we can use a keyword called current region. Okay, so this is the keyword that we can use to automatically detect the area containing data inside our Excel worksheet. Okay, so now we have identified the total or the area containing data in our worksheet. We want to actually select them. Okay, so that's why we need to enter another keyword here, select. Okay, so let's show you what happens here. So just want to show you this particular line. I want to execute, or I want to run this particular line. So the line below that, I want to deactivate it. Okay, so I don't want to perform those lines below selection current region select, the ones that I have highlighted right now. So to deactivate this line, I can change this to command block. Okay, um, you will not be able to use this toolbar yet because by default it is not shown inside your Visual Basic editor. So how can you view this toolbar? So to actually view this toolbar, you need to click on this view ribbon up here, and from this ribbon you can go to this toolbars option, and make sure that you have this edit option enabled. Okay, you have a tick mark beside this edit. Okay, then only you can see this toolbar available in your Visual Basic editor. Now I want to comment this highlighted line, so I can just click on this button and it will change to this green colored lines. Okay, if you work with Visual Basic Editor and you see particular lines colored in green, that means those lines are not executed by Excel. Okay, so if I click on this play button now, okay, as you can see here, based from the first selection, from the first selected cell E12 just now, okay, when I click on this play button, it will automatically highlighted all my data in this worksheet. Okay, so that is what this line is doing for us right now. Okay, so let me select a single cell again, cell E12, and now we know what is this line doing for us in this particular script, and we are going to go further. Okay, so based from the selected area, we want to know how many rows containing data. So to do that, that's why we have this variable, right? So I can just copy this variable name and paste it inside this new line. And I want to assign the total number of rows available in the selected area just now. So I can do this code, okay, selection, and then rows, and then we can count the number of rows available in the selection. Okay, so to actually display what is the number contained in this variable name rowCount, we can use this keyword message box, and we can type in the variable name rowCount. Okay, let me execute this script, and you can see what is the result from these 3 lines. Okay, so it has selected all the data, and from the selected area it will count for us the total number of rows, and that is why here we have this message box showing us a number, that is the total number of rows available in our worksheet 20. Okay, so that what happens in these 3 lines. Okay, now we know that our row count contains a number, and the number is equal to 20 coming from the total number of rows available in our worksheet. Okay, now for the next step, we want to go through each row one by one, right? So that is what we call as a looping in our script or in our programming language. It's called a looping. So we start a looping in Visual Basic by using this keyword for. Okay, for what? For row counter. Okay, that is why we have this variable name rowIndex. That is our counter to loop through each one of this row. Okay, for rowIndex equals to 1. Okay, meaning we want to start our looping from the first row. Okay, rowIndex is equal to 1. Okay, until when? Okay, rowIndex equals to 1 to rowCount. Okay, until the last row available in this selection area. Okay, remember that now rowCount contains a number, and the number is equal to 20. Okay, so in essence, we are going to loop through from the first row until row number 20. That is what we want. That is what it means by this statement. Okay, next. String 1. This is the script that we have commented out just now, and I want to execute this line again. So to execute this line again, we need to change it back to a non-green colored line. Okay, so you can click on this button here, uncommand block, and it will change back to this default color, black color. Okay, to make this easier to read, I'm going to put another indentation, okay, like so. And by doing that, we know that string 1 equals to A10 G10 is actually below this looping operation. Okay, it's a part of this looping operation. Okay, so we want to change the cell address automatically by using this looping operation, right? So to do that, we are going to add another line here, selection, okay, rows, and then we want to identify the first row, okay, for the first looping. So we are going to put here row index, close bracket. So for the first looping, row index is equal to 1. So meaning selection rows, this is 1. Okay, so it will select our first row. The next looping, this row index will increase by 1. Okay, becoming number 2. So now it will select our second row. And it will go on and on and on until it reaches to row count. Row count equals to 20, right? So it will select the last row available in our data. Okay, that is what it means by this selection here. Okay, selection rows in bracket row index. It will select the row one by one. Okay, after it has selected the individual row, we want to get the cell address. So we need to input this statement. We want to get the cell address of that particular row. Okay, and that cell address will be assigned to our variable string 1, similar as before. And for the rest of this script, okay, we are going to uncomment these lines that I have highlighted here, uncomment them. And similar as before, for easier for us to make it easier for us to read, I'm going to increase one indentation so that we know all these lines are a part of this looping structure. Okay, question: why do I make this as a comment? Okay. Okay, remember previously we need to select the range and then only we can change the sorting order, right? So for this particular case, since we are selecting the range, automatically, we do not have to select this range in the script anymore. So we can just leave it as a comment and let Excel do the work for us. Okay. So before we end this process or this script, okay, remember that we have started a looping by this line. Okay, for is the keyword to start a looping, and to make sure this row index increase by 1 for each looping step, we need to add another line down here, next, and then the variable name row index. That's it. Okay, so now let's try to execute this script, and let's try to start from the earlier or the initial condition, selecting only a single cell E12, and let's run this script and see the result from this left hand side window here. Okay, so I'm going to click on this play button and you can observe the result from the left hand side window. Okay, and as you can see here now, all the rows are sorted according to what we have defined earlier, sorted in ascending order. Okay,